the people who learn how to prime their brain every single day to take the actions that they should take, to visualize the obstacles that are in the way of their goals and visualize them overcoming their obstacles because they've created a plan and thought about it in advance, are the ones to achieve the goals and dreams that they set. And so there's a process, and I call it goop it up. And this simple little process is all about setting a goal and then writing down all of the obstacles that could come in your way from achieving that goal. So you could have an obstacle around what you believe. But if you have a goal and you write down the obstacles and then you use the powerful, amazing brain that you've got to visualize yourself meeting the obstacle, and then if you create a short, smart plan where you're taking action 10 or 15 minutes a day towards achieving that goal, that is part of the goop it up plan for being able to achieve your goals and dreams.
Need motivation?
Watch a Top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Carmichael, and I make these videos because in my first business, I struggled to stay afloat. I quit on my business partner, and the thing that kept me motivated, that kept me going, was studying the stories of famous, successful entrepreneurs. And in their stories, it gave me the hope, the drive, the ambition, the thinking that maybe I can do it too, that actually bit of belief. And I still need their stories today, and I'm honored to share them with you here as well. So today, let's learn from one of the best, John Assaraf, and my take on his top 10 rules of success. Enjoy.
And so take a few moments and just write down one goal, then write down 3 or 4 or 5 obstacles that could come in your way. Then you write down, all right, the outcomes that you want, and you visualize yourself overcoming the obstacles by closing your eyes and just seeing that obstacle in front of you, and then you jumping over it, you reaching over it, you figuring out the problem, you getting help to achieve that goal. And then you create a small plan, a tiny habit that you move towards by taking action every day. And when you do that, you're going to give your brain all of the power that it needs in order to help you figure out how to overcome the obstacles.
Rule number 2 is prime your brain.
As you may know, I came from a pretty rough and tough background in my childhood, and I wasn't used to hanging around with successful people or being part of the world of the wealthy. If I hadn't discovered how to retrain my brain to change my results, chances are I would have ended up in jail or the morgue. Now, for me, I had a very successful mentor named Alan Brown, and Alan took it upon himself to show me many of the secrets that wealthy people understood, which allowed them to have what I think is almost a magical ability to set and achieve goals. And it can seem impossible to achieve those same goals to people who don't understand how the process works. And so as part of my training, Alan had me do something I think is very interesting. What he had me do is he had me write down one extremely specific goal with a date associated with it of when I would achieve it. But then he asked me to do something that seemed, I guess, pretty boring since I was 19 years old, and it seemed redundant to do it over and over again. But he had me read this goal every single day with my fingers scrolling on the words of the page. He told me to do my best to feel the words with my fingers. Now, I know it may sound crazy, but he wanted me to feel the words, and he wanted me to imagine that what I had written down was true, and that the goal that I had written down, one goal, one date, was becoming a reality for me. So he had me, in essence, read, put my fingers across the words, and see myself moving towards those goals. And what he shared with me is that when you see, read, and feel this goal in this way, you're actually sending an electrical signal to your brain, from your finger up your arm to your brain, which does what? It makes you much more likely to achieve this goal. Little did he know that what he said would later be 100% validated by neuroscientific discoveries. Let me explain. There is a term in the brain research, the science field, that goes like this. The neurons, brain cells, that fire together, wire together. What this means is that when you activate by hearing, seeing, running your finger on your goals, when you activate and wire the different brain cells together, they formulate a pattern. The more you reinforce that pattern, the more it becomes a strong automatic pattern in your brain that causes you to think, feel, and do things differently, so your reality changes. Now, on any given day, you have 30, 40, 50,000 thoughts popping up in your head. Some of these thoughts are caused by internal influences, such as your memories, your beliefs, habits that you have. Others are caused by external influences like texts you receive, Facebook, cell phones, traffic, bird flying across, the sky, into your window. These thoughts cause your mind, and even mine, to be scattered all over the place most of the day with no clear direction or focus. If you think of your brain as an organ that you could put to work for yourself like a loyal servant, then what you also need to do is you need to direct it. And if you don't, it'll just wander all over the place with no idea what you actually want. So if your goals are scattered, so will your focus be. But as soon as you set a goal and choose to consistently and consciously focus on it, your brain realizes that this is important to you. And then what happens is it starts to automatically notice ways to bring you things that you want from the perspective of teaching you how to focus on it.
Rule number 3 is review your goals daily.
I've achieved some pretty good goals in my life, and my entire, life from 19 to 61, a lot of years, right? Involved setting goals and getting precise on, what do I want to achieve? When do I want to achieve it by? How am I going to achieve it? What are the skills necessary to achieve it, etc. So these are some of the things that I know you're already aware of. And one of the things that I wish I did more of was review. Where was I, on the path to achieving those goals? So I set the goals and I developed the strategies for them. And I didn't do enough reviews on a weekly basis. So for example, now I review my goals every day. I review my results every week. I review my results and my plans every month, every quarter. And I take time to think, plan, do, and review. Let me repeat that. I take time to think, then plan, then to do and review. And I keep repeating that process over and over again.
Rule number 4 is practice positive affirmations.
Are affirmations a total waste of time? What about declarations? Declaring that something is real, that it is. What about I promise? And you don't really believe the promise. So let's understand something first and foremost. And you know who this is. It's John. Right? Think about affirmations like my good friend Dr. John DeMartini does. And in my discussions with him, he's got one of the best ideas around that I like. An affirmation is really all about affirming something in one's mind. So an affirmation isn't about stating something that you don't believe as a truth. No, it's taking something that you may not believe and affirming it in your mind so that you start to believe it and you start to behave in ways in alignment with what it is that you believe. So think about this. Were you born with any beliefs? No. So other people's beliefs, in most cases, were given to you, right? Me too. Through parents, teachers, siblings, TV, things we read, things we watched, etc. And so when I started using affirmations back when I was 19, it started off with things like, I'm so happy and grateful for the fact that I am now achieving all my goals and dreams. Now, at the time, I wasn't. When I would say that, I would hear this little voice in my head going, bullshit, that's not true. But I was also taught to understand that that voice was that critical voice that we all have, almost like a little, critical person, sitting on your shoulder, trying to remind you that you're not good enough, not worthy enough, not smart enough, etc. And I was taught to say, next. Just take that idea and go next, and then go, I'm so happy and grateful for the fact that I am achieving all my goals and dreams. The repetition side of affirmations with emotion activates, electrical signals in your brain, right? When the electrical signals in your brains are firing, they call them neurons that fire together, the affirmation, wired together. Now, why is that important? Well, if I don't believe something like, I'm so happy and grateful for the fact that I'm achieving every one of my goals and dreams, and yet I repeat it, I emotionalize it, I feel it, and I say, yes, this is what I want to believe, this is what I'm choosing to believe, I'm deliberately and consciously creating my belief system. Well, why not do that deliberately instead of believing all the shit that's out there, right, that people believe because of their experiences? So what happens is if we fire these neurons enough in our brain and we wire them enough in our brain, they go from conscious effort, I don't believe it, to, well, maybe I do believe it, to I believe it, to how do I behave in ways that I believe. That's how we develop our beliefs. That's how we develop our identity. That's how we develop our character.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
Rule number 5 is rewire your brain for wealth.
When we talk about rewiring your brain for wealth, why do we even use the word rewire our brain for wealth? Like, it has to assume that our brain is wired for wealth, right? What does that even mean? So when we talk about rewiring your brain for wealth, it assumes that there is a wiring already there. And the question then becomes, was the wiring there when you and I were born? Were we born with any beliefs? Were we born with an identity? Were we born with a self-image or even a self-concept? Were we born with any attitudes? Were we born with any habits? Were we born with any expectations? Were we born with any financial set points or limitations, right? Financial glass ceilings? And the answer is no. There were brain cells, 100 billion of them or so, and over the course of our lifetime, right, Each one of those brain cells created neural connections, about 10,000 neural connections per cell. So if you want to do some math, do 100 billion times 10,000, huge number. And those connections started to formulate our perspective, our beliefs, our paradigm, our attitude, our skills, our expectations, our set points, right? So let's understand the nature of how our brain became conditioned, what the essence of this wiring is. So what happens is, as we, are born into this environment with parents with certain skills, certain knowledge, certain awarenesses, etc., we also have to assume that we apply, or we learned the stuff from them about what's real and what isn't, right? We learned everything from our environment, our parents, the meaning we gave things. We learned that if we went to school, it means this. If we didn't, it means that. It means that this job earns that, etc. So we were born with a complete open slate, right? And then we created these neural patterns. And then those neural patterns went from creation initially to being what we call as soft wired. Soft wire, which means the neurons that formulated these connections through effort and awareness and the meanings we gave things became soft wired, not just in the conscious mind so we could declare the things that we may believe, but through our habits and our paradigms and our attitude, and also the beliefs that we have about what's possible, for us. Right? So when we're talking about rewiring your brain for wealth, is it possible that, let's say, if you make, whether it's $1,000 a month or $1,000 a day, it doesn't matter, that the more you've been earning that amount of money, that becomes your financial or wealth set point? The more we reinforce a pattern, does it not mean that the pattern then reinforces itself through automaticity, which is one of the brain's ways to conserve energy, right? There's neuroplasticity, our brain's ability to make connections. There's neurogenesis, which is our brain's ability to create new neurons, which we once thought wasn't happening, but it does. But then automaticity is once those neuron patterns are formulated, they run automatically. It's part of something called your default mode network.
Rule number 6 is get a coach.
The third thing that I wish I would have done, and I had so many opportunities to do this, is I didn't know the value, of a coach, when I was, I knew the value of a coach as in sports, because I played sports as a kid. I played basketball and I swam, I did track and field and I learned how to ski and stuff like that. But I never paid for lessons, but I had a coach in high school, and I got better because of that. But I didn't hire a coach to help me achieve my goals. And it's like, wow, now that I teach so many people, to achieve their goals, and I see how fast they achieve their goals because they know exactly what to do. I wish I would have known exactly what to do and to be coached on how to do it specifically.
Rule number 7 is overcome negative thoughts.
When we have negative self-talk, when we have negative thoughts, emotions, and even behaviors, there's nothing wrong with having negative self-talk, because your brain and my brain, is repeating patterns that you have become conditioned to have, and then it's conserving energy. All right. It's conserving energy to maintain those patterns as part of its homeostasis desire, right? To maintain homeostasis, a comfort zone. Can you be in a negative or disempowered state or comfort zone, even though you have potential to achieve even more? So here's something I'd like you to consider doing. All right. You want to become a better operator? Here's a little daily practice. Okay. Take your mobile phone, and every hour for 3 minutes, would it be worth it for you to invest 15 to 30 minutes a day, 15 to 30 minutes a day to train your brain to work for you instead of work against you. Would it be worth it for you? Because if you want to learn how to take better control of your brain, which you already own, you don't have to pay anybody for it. Okay, our creator gave us an amazing brain, billions of years of evolution. What if every hour for 3 minutes you stopped? And the first thing you did was you took 6 deep breaths. I call it take 6, calm the circuits, to recalibrate both hemispheres of your brain, get that corpus callosum in between to communicate, deactivate your stress, fear, worry, anxiety, doubt centers in your brain. And what if you just did 6 deep breaths? This is basic kindergarten level stuff. Slowly in through your nose. Deep, deep, deep breath. And then slowly out of your mouth, like you're breathing out through a straw. Doing that 6 times slowly deactivates and recalibrates your brain so it's ready for what I call as inner size number 2. And inner size number 2 is called AIA, A-I-A. Many of you know this, right? Many of you know this. And it's called AIA. It's awareness, intention, action. So awareness of, in the last, let's say 30 minutes, awareness, what have my thoughts been in the last 30 minutes? Are they constructive or destructive? Empowering me or disempowering me? Moving me towards my goal or away from my goals? Have I been procrastinating or taking inspired action? If we can become aware of patterns, is it easier to change a pattern that I'm aware of? It doesn't matter if it's a positive or negative, constructive or destructive, as I said before. The first part of taking control of your life is mental and emotional regulation. Mental and emotional regulation that gives rise to feelings.
Rule number 8 is scale your business.
Do you know what every successful business figures out that unsuccessful business owners do not? The answer is this: leads and conversions. Let me explain. Every single business that stays in business and actually has the ability to scale and create predictable, consistent cash flow and profits has a way or two to generate a consistent flow of leads that either comes into their store, comes to their website, or just a way to make the phone ring. And every single business that I know of that succeeds and scales also has what I call our irresistible offers, which means that when people enter your orbit, they actually make a decision to buy from you. And in order to do that, there are several things that you need to have. Number 1 is you need to have a way, either online or offline, to attract qualified buyers. Do you have that? Because if you don't, it may make sense for you to invest a little bit of time figuring out, how can I create predictability in my business? And every single business that I have built, which is 5 multi-million-dollar businesses, and every single business that I have helped, which is over 10,000 businesses now, we work on one primary thing first, and that is lead generation, where we can find qualified leads, and then lead conversion, where we can create the greatest number of sales from the leads that come in. And in order to do that, you have to ask yourself a few questions, like, how is my product or service different than my competition's? Why should somebody buy my product or service instead of any other one online? And in order to answer that question, you should ask yourself, how can I make my product or service stand out so that I'm not competing with everybody else, but I have something that people want? And the first step to that is to get people to like you and trust you. And the way you do that is you create videos, maybe like this one. You create articles, blogs, you create infographics as a way to build a tribe, to build a following that causes people to say, hey, for that product or service that you are selling, that company, that person is my go-to person, and that is how you build your brand. And so when you are looking to create consistent cash flow, you have to understand that inconsistent cash flow is an effect of inconsistent lead generation and inconsistent lead conversion. Does that make sense? If you, as a CEO, focus on those things, here's what I can promise you. You will end up generating more income, you'll generate more profits, and more importantly, you'll be able to scale your business.
Rule number 9 is learn about money.
Money is an idea, it's a means of exchange, it's abundant and everywhere, it's a tool and a resource, and what money does is it gives you choices and options, and really what money is just another form of energy that's a means of exchange. It's an energetic exchange. So first and foremost, I want you to understand and think, there is no shortage of money. Money is everywhere. It's abundant. It is filling all space and time. So I want you to shift your thinking from there's not enough of it to there's an abundance of it. It's a means of exchange. And how do I create for myself more of it so that I could exchange more with other people for the things that I want to exchange it for? Does that make sense? Okay? Does that make sense? First and foremost is just understanding money at the highest level of being. So let me share something with you that all of the latest neuropsychologists and neuroscientists are reading. And as you know, if money is a concept, if money is an idea, if money is energy, then it's something's happening in here that's helping you either resonate with it or repel it. But if money is a means of exchange, I want you to understand something. First and foremost, your boss does not pay you. The company you work for does not pay you. You get paid in direct proportion to the value you bring to the marketplace in exchange for money. Let me repeat that. Your boss doesn't pay you, your company doesn't pay you. You get paid in the marketplace based on the value that you bring to the marketplace. The more rare you are, the more you can charge. The more knowledge, skill, and expertise that you bring to the marketplace, the more you can earn and make. So if you have a business, you better get good at marketing and sales. If you have a job, you better become outstanding so that you can command the highest amount of money for what it is that you do. But you can also learn how to take money and put money to work for you.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is take more time off.
When I was younger, I really wanted to work hard and long hours because I thought that's what it was going to take to be successful and make a lot of money. And when I was younger, and a lot of people don't know this, I ended up with severe ulcers in my colon. And I was sick for about a year and a half. And I got so sick that I was taking 25, they were called Cilazaparin pills a day to reduce the inflammation. I had to do, and this is very embarrassing, I had to do an enema every morning and every night. It was a cortisone enema. And then every month I had to go to the doctor to have a tube stuck up my you-know-what to see how I was doing. And it wasn't really doing well for a year and a half, to the point where they thought they were going to take out my colon, or part of my colon. I was like 22 years old. Who the has their colon taken out at 22? And they said if it doesn't get better, because it was stress-related, by the way, then they probably have to take out my colon, part of my colon, and it would never be the same again. So once I learned how to exercise, eat well, meditate, visualize, see myself being healthy, and taking time to rest. I remember one of my mentors, coaches, so to speak, in business, he said to me, he says, if you had $1 billion horse, you wouldn't put her in a race every day, would you? As well, you're working 7 days a week, 50 hours, 60 hours, 70 hours. And he wasn't like, a real coach, so to speak, but he was somebody who was managing the office. And so once I started to focus on my mindset, the visualization, the affirmations that I love to teach about, the meditation, the mindfulness, I was doing this, 39 years ago to get healthy and my colitis went away, and I haven't stopped ever since. So take more time off to rest, to unfocus is really what it's all about, to give yourself a chance to replenish. I often say that there's only 4 things that are holding you back as a human being. Only 4. There's not 25, there's 4 that are the core. 1 is if your vision and goal is bigger than your self-image. Okay? So if you feel you deserve it, you can have this vision and goal and be excited about it, motivated about it. You will not do what it takes to achieve it. 1. 2, if you have limiting beliefs. If you have a vision and goal, but you have a limiting belief that you're too young, too old, whatever the case is, your limiting beliefs will drive your behavior. 3, fear. Fear of being embarrassed, ashamed, ridiculed, or judged. Fear of failure, fear of disappointment. And we'll talk about disappointment in a moment, or fear of succeeding and failing again. Disappointment. And then the 4th one, by the way, is you're lacking the knowledge and skill required. So that actually sets up a self-doubt trigger, which activates the Frankenstein brain, which causes you to lose motivation. But most people prefer to master disappointment and comfort zones instead of mastering change. Wow. So if I master disappointment, I know what I got. I just have to deal with, well, okay, this is what I got. And if I master my comfort zone, then at least this is the devil I know.
Yes.
Versus mastering change, and we know what's going on in our brain. We know what's happening neurologically, biologically, emotionally, physically, and all of that is a skill. Yes. It's just a skill. So why not just master change? Why not become an adaptationist right now in the time that you need it the most in the world? Because if you don't, then you're just going to keep repeating the same patterns that are going to get reinforced, and it makes it harder in 3 months, 6 months, and 6 years. So master change now and make that one of your core competencies, and then you master your life. If you think about a radio, and a radio is a good example. If you were on 98.5, let's say there's rock and roll on that station. At 98.9, there might be classical music. At 99.1, there might be big band, okay, music. So I do agree that when you get aligned mentally and tune in to what it is that you want, you're in resonance with that energy field. And there's millions of frequencies, okay, all around us. So the first thing is, yes, get totally cleared, get totally on the station of what you want to achieve. That's step 1. If you're here and there and here and there, then you're on a variety of different stations. And I totally believe that our brain emits a frequency based on our predominant thoughts and emotions, and it also is in a receptive state when you're practicing certain spiritual practices, or you're on that frequency and you're on that channel. So I do believe in that. That's called being in a resonance. But I do not believe for 1 second that while we're sitting here in this hotel room, okay, at the Encore Hotel, somebody's going to knock on the door and say, John, Nick, you guys just won $1 billion because we are in resonance. No, we have to participate in the process and do something to help create that. If we think about what is a limiting belief, like from a neuroscience perspective, when a neuroanatomist looks in your brain, right, they can't see, oh, here's the limiting belief pattern between here and here. But we do know that a limiting belief is nothing more than a neural network, a pattern in the brain. The marble's connected. Right? And if they've connected and have been reinforced often enough and strongly enough, they become part of something known as the default mode network. We just default to that belief. Why? Because we have enough references to say this is true. This limiting belief that I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm too young, I'm too old, I'm too Asian or Caucasian. Somehow we have information and experiences that says this is real. So
we're operating from that automatically.
We're operating from that automatically. But what does that really mean? What it means is not only does it affect what we do or don't do, but it affects the lens by which we're seeing the world. We only see the world through the lens of our empowering beliefs or disempowering beliefs.
Yes.
So imagine if you had a lens, whether it's on your camera or on your glasses, and all of a sudden you put a coating on it to take out all the blue light. You're not going to see the world the same.
Yep.
All the blue light is gone. Well, limiting beliefs or empowering positive beliefs do the exact same thing. Vision board for seeing what you want. The accomplish board for reminding yourself that you've got a lot that you've accomplished, so you feel good. And the crap
Do you
board,
actually put up images of things you've accomplished?
Yeah. I have them in my closet, in my home, encased on the floor.
Like on the floor so that you don't look at them? So
I look at them just because I sit down to put on my shoes. I want to look at them every day.
Interesting.
Yeah. On my, I have this ritual as well. I do something called brush and prime. So on my bathroom mirror, I have my goals that are on my mirror. So that as I'm brushing my teeth, I'm priming my brain to see my goals in front of me every morning and every night.
I love that.
Right? So that's priming your brain, which is a whole other topic we can have. And then the accomplishment boards reminds me, whenever I look at the stuff that I've accomplished, I go, that wasn't easy. I mean, there was a lot of ups, downs, highs, lows, failures, times I thought I'd quit and I didn't. So it's to remind me to go through the times that I don't think I'm going to be able to achieve those things. And then the crap board stands for conflict, resistance, accomplishments, and procrastination. So what conflicts are happening right now that I need to resolve? What resistance is in my way? What am I resisting? What in front of me is resisting right now? And then accomplishment as well is to remind you that you can get through stuff. And then procrastination is what's causing me to procrastinate. So if you create a crap board as well, you have that in front of you, and then you can create a game plan for what am I going to do about it? What am I going to do about the conflicts? When I was 19 years old, okay, when I had a mentor, a man who was in his 50s, very, very successful, he agreed to mentor me and to teach me what he knew. And so he sent me home with some paper. And on the paper it said, what do you want to achieve in your health? What do you want to achieve in your relationships? What do you want to achieve financially? What do you want to achieve charity? What do you want to achieve as far as experiences? When do you want to retire by? How much money do you want to make?
Wow.
He asked me about 10 pages of questions. And at 19, I had no idea. Like, how much do I want to make? I want to make enough to pay my bills. I want to make enough to, just eat well and then have some fun. I want to go drinking with my friends. I want to go party and travel a little bit and pay for my apartment and a nice car and things like that. But he had me think, 1 year, 5 years, 25 years.
Wow.
And I was 19, and he made me write down the answers to these questions, even though I had no idea how to achieve them. He made me write it down. It took me a whole weekend. And then I went back and he looked at my papers. And so he looked at health and wealth and relationships and career and business. And he goes, good, way to do the exercise. I'm very proud of you. He says, now I want you to increase that amount. And so I said that, by the time I was 45, I was 19. I said, by the time I was 45, I was going to be a millionaire. Nobody in my family was a millionaire. Not my aunts, not my uncles, not my cousins, nobody in the area that we lived in. And I wrote that down. And he said, no, that's not enough. He says, you could do better than that. And I'm like, I'm swallowing, I'm scared, I'm afraid. How am I going to become more than that? How can I have all of this? He says, don't worry about the how right now. You worry only, and not even worry, but you write down what you want. And so I went back home and started to write again.
Again.
And took another, half a day to redo my goals. And he said to me, great, now in order for you to achieve those goals, what do you have to believe?
Wow.
I said, well, I have to believe that I can. I have to believe that I deserve it. And even though I didn't believe that I deserved it, he said, what would you think you had to believe? I have to believe that it could be done. I have to believe that I could learn the skills. I would have to believe. So he made me write out what I would have to believe.
Great question.
And then he said, great, what do you think you would have to do every day?
Wow.
I go,
Amazing question.
well, I guess I would have to come to work every day, and I'd have to really get good at what I'm doing, and I'd have to learn more than I'm learning right now because I hated to learn back then, and I'd have to, gain more skills, which I didn't have any. The only thing I was good at was I had an easy time talking to people like I am with you now. And he said, great, well, let's make a list of all of these things, and let's come up with a plan to do this. He said, so every day, let's look at some beliefs. And so every day he would have me look at my goals. And I would sit in my chair and I'd have my goals, that he had me write. And I would take my fingers, which he told me to touch my goals, so that I would send a message to my brain as I was reading it and seeing it to reinforce the goals that I wrote. Then I would read the beliefs that I needed to have. I have all the intelligence I need to achieve these goals. I can now acquire all the skills to achieve these goals. And I read about 20 or 30 different beliefs every day. And for the first month or 2 months, while I was reading all of this, in my head, this one word kept coming up. You know what the word was? Bullshit. Because as I would read it, my brain would say, bullshit, that's not true. And he told me that my brain would try to talk to me and tell me it's not true. And he said, if you keep doing it over and over and over again, your brain's gonna get tired of telling you it's not true. And especially if after you do this, you take some actions to upgrade your knowledge, upgrade your skills, you'll develop more confidence and more certainty. So he taught me how to use the telephone to make telephone calls to people to see if they were interested in buying a real estate property or selling their home. I was in real estate at 19. And for the first month it was hard, second month it was hard, the third month it was hard, but as I got better and more comfortable at being on the telephone, talking to people that I didn't know, that I thought didn't want to hear from me or talk to me, I found one person, then 2 people, then 3 people, then 5 people who said yes. Because as I became more comfortable, as I became more skilled, as I gained more knowledge, people received me differently. And in my first year, I made $30,000. I was 19, which was $5,000 more than my father made as a taxi driver.
Wow.
Then he started to upgrade my skills a little bit more. And he started to teach me some very specific things to do in real estate. And in my second year at 20, I made $151,000.
Wow.
5 times more income, because every day for 1 hour, 1 hour a day, I practiced my beliefs. I practiced seeing my vision. I rehearsed it. I got on the phone. I upgraded my knowledge. I upgraded my skills.
I love your story.
Thank you. And so he kept directing me a little bit at a time to become more tomorrow than I am today. And he said to me something that changed my life. He says, if you invest 1 hour a day on your personal growth and changing who you believe you are, that is the equivalent of 9 40-hour weeks of effort. 1 hour a day for a year is 9 40-hour weeks. If you and I said today, we're gonna learn breakdancing, or we're gonna learn knitting, and we're gonna spend 9 weeks, 40 hours a week, we would get good at painting, we would get good at knitting, we would get good at darts, we would get good at playing a musical instrument. if we were committed to 1 hour a day. So I've practiced 1 hour a day for 32 years.
Wow.
And that 1 hour a day has changed my life. I got really inquisitive and curious early on with, can I control more of the cause of my results? And that required responsibility. And when I was younger, it was like I was more into the blame game. It's because of him, because of her, because of it, because of the market, because of where I live, because of my mother, my father, how old I am or how young I am, how Asian or Caucasian I am. It doesn't make a difference. So a lot of my upbringing caused me to look outside of myself. And when I looked inside myself and took the prerequisite of responsibility, I own it.
Yes.
And I can change it.
So important.
That transformed my life. That really started to put things into perspective. I have my vision boards, and I actually have my Exceptional Life Blueprint that I've created. It's about 50 pages of my prayers, my rituals, for my spiritual growth, health, wealth, my money story, my inner mission, my outer mission. Wow. Some of the stuff, either that I have or that I'm creating. And so I create these visual representations to trigger the biggest part of my brain called the occipital lobe and to activate my memory center. So I have vision boards for what I want to create. So I'm giving my brain the exact instructions so that not only it focuses helping me achieve that, what most people don't understand about vision boards or creating goals in writing that are specific is that your brain is a deletion and distortion tool as well. So if you give your brain the instruction of this is the stuff that's important to me for health, God, spirituality, charity, fun, experiences, my children, my mother, my father, myself, whatever it is, and you say this is what I want to trade my life for, delete and distort everything else. Now all of a sudden you're using your brain as a deletion and distortion organism in order to be able to help you hyper-focus on what you want. The stuff that I'm fascinated with is behavior. Right? Perception and behavior is how I see myself and how people see themselves and why, and then how they see the world and why. And then we know that the action, in The Secret, you mentioned earlier, I was in The Secret, and the thing I loved about The Secret is it gave people some hope that changing my thinking really can make a difference. But there's also the other part of it. In the law of attraction, there was one thing that was left out, and it was called the law of Goya. And the law of Goya is the Goya law. It's the get off your ass law. There's nobody that I know other than trust fund friends, okay, that haven't had to do any work to achieve their success. Nobody that I know, whether it's Tony Hsieh, whether it's you, whether it's me, whether it's Mark Cuban, it doesn't matter, Richard Branson, Oprah Winfrey, doesn't make a difference. They've all had to take actions, but it's not just any action. It's taking the right actions in the right order at the right time consistently. And so I've been fascinated with how do we help people develop the mental, emotional, and behavioral habits that lead to success. Because that's the key. Mindset, skill set, and action set. That's the formula. Is your financial governor holding you back from doubling or tripling your income in the next 6 to 12 months? Now, you may be asking, John, what in the world is a financial governor? And I'll explain it this way. Many years ago, when the car companies were building engines that were faster and stronger and more resilient, cars could go 200, 250 miles an hour, some maybe even to 300 miles an hour. But because of laws in Europe and in the United States, these governors were put on the engine so that the car, even though it can go faster and perform even better, it was limited to about 155 miles per hour. So here we are, we have these cars that can go extremely fast, but for obvious reasons, to conserve on gas, to be able to have more safety on the roads, and to keep us generally all driving around the same speed limit, we created these governors to put on engines in order to limit the speed at which the car can go at. Well, what does that have to do with you earning more money, you accumulating more wealth? And the answer is everything. if you understand that you have a conscious brain that wants to set goals, but you have a subconscious mind that is going to limit your thoughts, emotions, feelings, and behaviors to what you are governed by, which is your subconscious mind, then here's one of the things that we have discovered. People who make $30,000 a year or 50 or 100 or $500,000 a year or $1 million a year or more, their financial governor is set at a totally different setting than somebody who's earning less. So why does this make a difference? Well, it makes a difference because there's a part of your brain that chooses the goal that you want to achieve, and there's another part of your brain that's responsible for everything else, your thoughts, emotions, feelings, and behaviors. And so if you don't have coherence between these two parts of your brain, if you don't know how to remove the governor and reset it, chances are you're going to have goals and dreams, financial ones and even lifestyle ones, that you're not going to achieve, not because you're not capable of doing it. It's just because you are wired, set, conditioned, programmed, whatever you want to call it, to earn the income you're earning right now and maybe a little bit more each day, each week, each month versus doubling or tripling or quintupling your income. Now, let me give you a different visual for this that'll hopefully cement what I mean. Let's say you're in a room that has a thermostat in there. And the thermostat is set to a nice and comfortable 70 degrees, and you feel nice at that temperature. What happens if you open up a window, and let's say it's winter, and cold air comes in? Well, what happens is the mechanism in the thermostat that picks up what the temperature is in the room, picks up a deviation that cold air has come in the room. And what does it do? It sends a signal through the electrical system for the heater to go on so that the room gets back to 70 degrees. That's called a cybernetic mechanism, a control and respond mechanism that occurs in machines that we create them in, or in animals like us. So whether it's hot air coming into a room or cold air coming into a room, any deviation from the set program activates the air conditioning or the heat until the program and the room are one and the same. That is a cybernetic mechanism, as I mentioned, and here's what happens in us humans. If you're used to earning 30,000 or 50,000, 75, 100 or 200 or more, or you are used to a certain lifestyle, any deviation up or down from that setting, that comfort zone, that programming, kicks in your nervous system so that you either turn up the jets and earn more based on what you're used to, or if you do really well for a week, a month, a quarter, you actually back off and sabotage your success until you meet the setting that you have in your mind. That is how a governor works in a car. That's how a governor works in your brain. So if you want to double or triple your income in the next 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, doesn't it make sense that you should reset your financial governor, the expectation point, the programming, the conditioning? Well, of course it does. What I've seen in my years of training, whether it's salespeople or entrepreneurs or individuals to make more money, is the ones that think that they could do it just by gaining more knowledge miss the point, because there's a part of our brain that gains more knowledge but doesn't change behavior. What you have to do is reprogram your financial set point, your conditioning, the expectation point. And when you do that and you create this coherence between your goal and your dream and your subconscious programming, that is when your behavior starts to change. That is when fears dissipate. That is when you stop procrastinating. That is when you take inspired action and you don't sabotage the success that you are achieving. So, in order to achieve your goals and dreams, you have to reset your governor, reset your financial thermostat.
Talk to me about set points. That was something really interesting in what you talk about around the stories and things that we carry that I found really interesting.
Sure. So Maxwell Maltz wrote a great book many, many years ago, probably in the 70s, called Psycho-Cybernetics, right? And Maxwell Maltz was a surgeon who performed surgery on people. And what he noticed is even after plastic surgery that he performed on people, some people didn't see any change in their faces. And it was visible to everybody else, but not to them.
Because they had a map of what they thought they looked like?
Yes.
Okay.
So we all have a map of reality. We have a map of what we think we look like. And any deviation on the physical level to that map, to that visual representation we have in our brains that doesn't match the map, your brain deletes or distorts it. So when we were working with real estate agents or when I work with business owners, in addition to upgrading knowledge and skills, if you think about how, let's say income, we have set points for how much income we earn. So whether it's 10,000 a year or 20 or 50 or 100 or a million, it doesn't matter. We get this set point and then we behave the way we need to behave and we feel what we need to feel to earn that income. And over a period of time, it becomes part of the brain's default mode network. So we develop set points for everything. And so if the set point's in the brain, and there's a psycho-cybernetic mechanism in the brain, a control and response mechanism in the brain, and it's our brain, why not learn how to reset the set point? And so now we're looking at what technologies are available to help reset that, what evidence-based methods are there to set that or to reset that. And so when we take, let's say, visualization, right, and you start to see yourself, even if the picture is not clear in your mind, of achieving the next level of your success, whether it's releasing weight and keeping it off, getting into a relationship that you love and are happy in, whether it's to make 2 or 3 or 5 times more money and live a certain type of lifestyle that allows you to do the things that freedom with having money allows you to do. If you start in your mind first and you impress that through conscious efforts into the subconscious mind, it then causes thoughts and emotions and behaviors. So I like to work from the outside in and from the inside out. So use both. I want every advantage. Here's something you could do quickly. It's called a reframe. So let's say you're driving in traffic, and let's say somebody cuts you off, and you've been sitting at the same spot for 20 minutes, like I did this morning. And somebody, you're maybe looking down at your cell phone because you have some time because you're parked on the highway, right? And somebody cuts you off. So you could automatically react, go, son of a bitch, I can't believe he just did that, and just use all of this energy, the cortisol, epinephrine, adrenaline that's flowing through your body and causing stress in your body. Or you can say, well, what if that person just found out their dog died and they're really trying to get home quickly? You go, oh, okay, I guess it's okay if she or he cut in front of me.
Right.
Or they just got a call from their mother fell.
Yeah.
Would you change the way you felt about it? And the answer is, yeah, probably. And the reason, because you changed the frame. So you can learn how to create frames for yourself of how you see the world, how you see failure, how you see effort, how you see your habits, how you create frames in advance that actually serve you through awareness and response versus reactivity. Yeah. And that is what a lot of people who, for example, I'm going to go back to professional athlete. What do you learn how to do? Respond in a variety of different ways in advance or through practice, so that when it's game time, you're just unconsciously doing what you do. This is going back sometimes. I think in 1992 we were stuck, but I knew there was more possibility. There was room for growth, and I wanted to figure out if the stuff that I did in the 80s when I was a kid, that broke free, would it work with some of my agents? And so we took 75 agents, randomly. Agents said, hey, do you want to get into a 6-month program to retrain your brain, your subconscious brain, around your beliefs about what is possible for you to achieve, around your habits of what you have to do in order to achieve that. And we focused on retraining their subconscious mind. And so for 6 months, they had to go through a process of listening to certain audio tapes, reading certain materials every day, and following the process of training their brain, specifically their subconscious brain, which controls 95 to 98% of all of our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors today. And within 6 months, that group increased sales by $100 million.
Jesus.
$100 million. And I said, holy shit, right? This is working. And so we started to teach. Some of what we teach now in NeuroGym, actually now we have the technologies, we have the systems that are far better than what we did back in the 90s. And we went from 1.2 billion to 4.5 billion a year. And it wasn't because we taught them any more skills to be real estate agents. We taught them how to change the way they thought about themselves. We taught them how to change their habits. Our agents who made $750,000 or more were in front of a client 75% of the time. And when we asked all the agents that weren't in front of more clients, like, why are you doing that? Like, why aren't you in front of people that are going to help you earn more income? Oh, well, we're busy doing this and doing this and doing this, and they had stories and excuses and reasons why. People have to make a decision what they want to trade their life for.
Yes.
Because every day we're trading our life for the people that we associate with, for the business or job that we have, you know, for what we eat, for the health, for the enjoyment, for the fun, for the experiences. And you have to ask yourself, is my life worth trading for that? If it's not, today is a good day to stop.
I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
But most people don't think that they're trading their life, you know, for something. They think that, you know, oh, there's tomorrow and there's next week. Really? Well, I have, you know, evidence to prove otherwise, that we have no idea, you know, when the last breath will be.
Yeah. We
So let's trade our life every day as it's the most important thing in the world. And not from an ego perspective, from a humble, grateful perspective of, wow, I get another day to live and to enjoy.
I can be grateful
and
for
be
that.
grateful for that, but then to respect it. See, respecting your life means you're going to trade it for things that you feel are worthy of it. Most people, you know, ask themselves the wrong question. They ask themselves, you know, am I worthy of the goal and the dream that I have? And they should be asking themselves, is that goal, that dream that I have worthy of my life? Change the question. And if you say, yeah, I'll trade my life for that, good, then go and do that.
Because you made it this far in a video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you are different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video because you are awesome.
For 10 more amazing rules from Bob Proctor, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
I failed lots of times. You don't learn from your successes, you learn from your failures. You get up and go at it again. So you're not a failure until you quit. Failing is not hitting the mark, but that doesn't mean you're a failure.